It was a defining moment in Indigenous affairs.
People are feeling rejected. People feel that nobody cares.
It's more about, the saying no to the government and the change of constitutional powers.
The proposal for an enshrined voice to Parliament, once supported by 2/3 of Australians in the polls, was roundly rejected last October, leaving many from the Yes side wondering what went wrong.
It's important to know that with the Voice campaign, the Yes campaign lost it. The No campaign didn't win it.
Initial analysis of financial disclosure data by the Centre for Public Integrity shows Yes campaigners spent more than $60 million trying to sway voters. That was more than twice the funds spent by No campaigners. The biggest financial backer for the Yes case was the philanthropic Paul Ramsay Foundation, pledging $7 million, while banks, mining companies and large corporates also contributed millions.
The Yes campaign with their $65 million, that's plenty of cash, lots and lots of money to run a very good campaign. They didn't, of course, but they had the cash to do so.
Marketing guru and former Liberal campaign strategist Toby Ralph ran 3 research studies to gauge the attitudes of voters during the referendum.
The fundamental thing that was wrong about the messaging of the Yes campaign was that it was sanctimonious and censorious and lacked detail. They should have been telling the story of why this is needed, and they should have been telling it from the point of view of people who are suffering from that terrible gap in the communities. But they abjectly failed to do so.
Yes makes it possible.
Most of the pro-voice funding went to the official Yes campaign group, Australians for Indigenous Recognition, chaired by filmmaker Rachel Perkins and lawyer Danny Gilbert. That group declined to be interviewed by 7:30. In a statement, a spokesperson said 10% of its donations came from grassroots supporters. A separate campaign group housed within the University of New South Wales spent $10 million in the lead up to the vote. Jeff Scott was its director.
The greater bulk of the funds were spent on marketing, be it merchandise, development of product, that's the ads, the various pamphlets and flyers that went out, and getting out to communities and just holding information sessions.
Mr Scott says the turning point of the campaign was when the proposal lost bipartisan support, opening the door for a divisive debate.
Having a Canberra voice is not going to resolve the issues on the ground in Indigenous communities.
Well, the referendum was defeated by a process of political expediency and misinformation and lies. And if you confuse people, people don't tend to actually focus on it. And there wasn't enough focus on what the real benefit of the referendum was going to be.
Warren Mundine was a leader of the No campaign, spearheaded by Conservative lobby group Advance.
Thanks everyone for hanging around.
He's also a director of the Indigenous Forum at the Centre for Independent Studies.
I'm denying that we did anything, in regard to making it a rough campaign. If people would remember, during that campaign, I went into a suicidal mode because of the racial abuse and the attacks that was personally put against me. So this idea that we are the bad guys is just nonsense.
And that's why when it comes to this voice, I'll be voting no.
Of the approximately $28 million spent by the No campaign, its biggest backers were individuals, including Perth doctor Bryant McPhee and Conservative businessman Simon Fenwick, who chipped in $900,000 and $500,000 respectively, both from a combination of personal and family trust donations.
So it was more of a, what we were saying during the campaign about being an elite corporate institutional approach for the Yes campaign, while on our side, it was a lot of bread and butter people, the ordinary Australians out there putting money in, and a few of the, some few rich people who tossed in some money out of their own personal accounts.
I think that's too silly for words. I mean, the issue here about who was funded it seems to be that the big end of town also funded the No campaign, but they won't even admit who actually funded them.
Many donations to both campaigns are not visible because contributions under $15,200 or those made more than 6 months before a referendum do not need to be disclosed.
Australians simply must be able to have visibility of who it is seeking to influence political outcomes in this country.
The Centre for Public Integrity has been analysing the data, and estimates around a fifth of all donations came from undisclosed sources. Catherine Williams is the Centre's Executive Director.
At the Commonwealth level, the donations disclosure threshold must be reduced from its current unjustifiably high threshold to a $1,000 threshold that would bring it into line with most of the state and territory requirements.
As the campaign post-mortem continues, the way forward for Indigenous affairs remains unclear.
The Yes campaign had the answers, and now we remain stuck, if you like, not knowing where to go as a nation.
They've lost the vote, they've lost the Australian people, and they've lost Aboriginal people. They need to now get back and focus on the real issues that are going to make the real changes in these communities.